Welcome everyone to today's webinar. Thanks for sharing some of your day with us. We're going to try to make it as productive as humanly possible. And we do want to make this as interactive as possible. This is a Microsoft Live event. If you've never attended one before, this is part of the Teams application that's part of Office 365. We can actually get up to 20,000 people in a live event. We've been doing these for a while. They really seem to work very, very well. Today I have Adam Carlton with us. Adam's from Microsoft. He's a technical specialist. Say hello, Adam, to everyone. Couldn't hear you, Adam, just in case. All right, this is technology for you. So Adam will be working on his microphone. He's got a nice demo he's going to be showing you coming up. My name's Kevin Vogel. I'm the Senior Solutions Architect here at MessageOps, which is now the Microsoft Cloud division for Sirius. So this is our first webinar to be part of the Sirius family. I want to welcome everyone to that. So first of all, to make it interactive, there is a question and answer, and there we go. Hi, Adam. See, Josh said hello, Adam. And just so you can know, just like Josh just did, you can ask questions as part of the live event. We'll try to answer them as quickly as we can as part of this whole webinar. So let's try to make this as interactive as humanly possible. So today we're going to look at 3 ways to realize significant savings and evaluate your security posture with Microsoft 365. And as you probably know, that's the new name for Office 365 that's been changed last year, but it's, basically the same product with just a lot more security built in and different advantages in there. So here is the agenda that we're going to be covering. First of all, we're going to talk a little bit about information protection and governance. We're going to look at this new landscape that I was just talking about that's part of this Office 365 environment. And this, great question, Anonymous. This is always being recorded. You can use the link that you received to actually play this back or share the link with anyone. So that's really easy. You're also going to be getting a copy. Anyone that attended or registered for the event is going to be sent a copy of the slides that we're going over today. So great question. Thanks for that. So the new landscape that I talked about. Then, like I told you, Adam's going to demo one of 2 products that he's doing today, which is multi-factor authentication and single sign-on, which is part of that Microsoft 365 application set that we talked about. We're also going to be looking at the new Gartner Magic Quadrants for security. I think you'll be really surprised at where Microsoft stacks up with a lot of the other companies out there. We're going to be talking about how you can consolidate your security. And then Adam's going to go into a really good demo about Defender for Office 365. I think you'll see a lot of value in that. And speaking of value, I'm going to be walking you through a new tool that we have that can help you guys actually take advantage of what you already own. It's the Microsoft Value Calculator that will be actually showing you how you can use it and what you can actually do with it. I'm just making sure I got both of these. Okay, so Adam is actually answering these for me. Thanks, Adam. Great. So this Value Calculator will show you the different products that are involved in the different licenses that Microsoft has, and then the competing products that maybe you can save some money with. And then we're going to show you what investments Microsoft has made in this whole Office 365, Microsoft 365 environment, and then we'll go through next steps. So as you can see, we have a full agenda here for our 40 minutes. The 3 ways that you think you're going to find that you can realize the most savings is when we talk about identity and access management, and you'll see that with Adam's demo of multi-factor authentication and single sign-on. Then you'll see, obviously, threat protection, like we talked about with Defender, another great demo that Adam's going to be doing. And then I'm going to be talking a lot about cloud security when we're talking about the value calculator. So really 3 great areas. But let's take a look at where information protection and governance is and how Microsoft now really plays in that environment. They have a unified approach. So they look at it from both a discovery, classification, and then labeling those threats that you have. Then we talk about all the protection that is part of the Office 365, Microsoft 365 environment, everything from encryption, restricted access, where you can do conditional access, which is part of that Azure Active Directory that we talked about. When we're talking about governance, we're talking about archiving and records management. And then, of course, you have to monitor this whole thing with everything from data at risk to policies that you set up for violations and supervision. All these things are really part of this whole broad spectrum of security that now is part of the Office 365 environment. So if we break this down into those three areas that I talked about, you could see the Compliance Manager and the Service Trust Portal are really the key products that we use to assess all of the things that can happen. We talk about the protection with Azure Information Protection, Advanced Data Governance, Data Loss Protection. DLP is something that we work with customers on a daily basis, all the way through privileged access management. And then if you look at the response that we give to this, we use the Office 365 Advanced e-discovery and long-term auditing to make sure that we respond to any of those problems that you might have. So it really is part of this whole compliance solution that we deal with. Now, the funny thing is, right now, companies that we deal with, 89% of those companies have moved to at least 50% of their workforce working remote. And as with the pandemic and everything, that's not a surprising number to me. I know that since March, we've been working remote, and most of our customers, their people have been working remote. Now with all these snowstorms, I know that Texas and places that aren't used to having the weather that they're having are sending people home so they don't have to drive on the roads. So it isn't just the pandemic. I think you're going to see this stay as long as people are doing business. And then CISOs have indicated that they have to come up with some pretty resilient plans now to be able to protect those remote workers. And I think that's where you'll see the Microsoft 365 and the advantages that they have now of running in the cloud, being able to protect all of those remote workers in a single interface, single monitoring platform that really takes advantage of the cloud and how it actually works with people that are sitting almost anywhere. So if you take a look at it, the nature of business has really changed. It's evolved into this work from home and work remote, and I don't see that changing. In fact, most of the customers that we talk to say that even when the pandemic is over and we get back to whatever this new normal is going to be, they're actually getting more productivity out of their people working from home than when they were working in the office. And it's going to be almost like a perk that they offer people to work from home at least a few days a week. They've also found out that their conventional security tools just aren't cutting it. It's just not making it in this world where people are dispersed all over the place. And then they also got to make sure that their regulations and their breaches are covered. So this is just part of what the shift that we're seeing in this working from home. And then you got to take into the business concerns, right? Economic uncertainties. The nice thing about cloud is you only pay for what you're using. So, if you have X amount of employees working, you can pay for X amount of licenses. When it gets to be more, you can expand it. When it becomes less, you can decrease it. So you're actually helping on your budgetary pressures that you're getting to make sure that you're using everything that you already own. And then resource constraints. By putting it in the cloud, by letting Microsoft really manage the back end And that's the beauty of software as a service. You're really only managing your users and their data. Everything else is really managed on the background by Microsoft. So you can actually keep your resources low and help your company still be compliant and still be resilient in this new world. So as you can see, this is the new world that we're talking about. Things that are still on premise, we still got to deal with them. We still have partners out there that need access to our environment. We have people working from home. We now have cloud services and a bunch of different software as a service applications. We have personal devices as well as bring your own device. All these things are just making the world of security a lot more complicated. And what Microsoft has done with this new M365 is actually combined all of those security products to allow you to still work the way you're used to working, but allow you to now support those remote users and remote locations. And I think the first thing you're going to see here from Adam is the demo for multi-factor authentication. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen right now, Adam, and allow you to now share your screen.
And can you hear me okay now?
I can hear you just fine. So let me find your screen here. Hold on. Why can't I share your screen here? So this, I think you're up.
I think I'm sharing. Okay, perfect. Well, guys, we're just going to start talking a little bit about multi-factor authentication, Azure Active Directory, and self-service password reset. So a couple of things that we can do here to have these conversations really starts with Azure Active Directory as a whole. So you can see I've logged into the Azure Active Directory portal that we have here. And you can see that I'm in the Azure Active Directory Admin Center. So looking at some of the information, first and foremost, I've got a couple different categories selected. We've got the security category that just gives me access to all the documentation that I need to be able to provide some of this information to get everything set up. And are we still getting that echo, or has that gone away now?
No, you sound good to me. Really
okay,
do.
Perfect. Okay,
someone just said major echo, but I'm not hearing it. Maybe I have better equipment.
Let's see. Okay, is the echo still going on? Everyone, let me know yes or no. Kevin, are you on mute?
I am not on mute. Oh, I'm sorry. I might be on mute. No, I'm not on mute. Can you hear me?
I can hear you fine. So maybe go on mute, and then I'll turn it back over to you, and that might clear up the echo. Let's hope. Okay, good stuff. Let me know if that solves the echo problem, guys. Awesome. Thanks, Joss. I hope everything's going well for you guys. So just to restart, looking at some of the information here, I'm in the Azure Active Directory portal. This is something that you guys have direct access to with that Microsoft 365 SKU that you guys are made available to you. I've got a couple different environments set up. You've got the security, Azure Active Directory security, and the user portals where we're going to be able to get access to that information. I just highlight this for you. The documentation of security gives you all the information that you're going to need to get everything up and running. So you guys should be good to go. You can see, a lot of the different security guidance and recommendations that we make, all the documentation that you're going to need to get all this stuff deployed and implemented. It's here for you. You don't have to go hunting for it and play, a Bing word search to identify where you need to find that information. We've hopefully included it for you in an easy to find place. Next component that you'll look at here is in the dashboard. You'll have Azure ID Security. What we'll look at is all the different types of information guidance that we have. This is how you can dial in some of the security features and capabilities that exist within the Azure Active Directory environment. So you can go back and get some very granular controls here to make sure that everything is working the way that you want. So to jump into the stuff that we want to talk about today, we want to focus in on the ability for us to set up multi-factor authentication. And you get to more familiar with the environment, you'll see that there's a kick out here for multi-factor authentication. This is all it takes to enable multi-factor authentication. I can go in here through this portal. I can go back and either directly enable multi-factor authentication for specific users. I can click that, enable multi-factor authentication, and then I have that process to wait for the update to occur. Now, next time I sign in, I have the ability to make that user provide the multi-factor authentication credentials that person wants to use. So it's a very easy, quick and easy process. I can get enforce it to make sure that person provides their credentials, and I can give some specific settings here to make sure that they have some additional controls enabled. So very easy process on a per user basis. Now, if I wanted to go back and do it directly for global admins within my organization, I can go back and restructure the list here, and so it'll show me all the global administrators that we have with my organization, and you can see the list is slightly changed, and now I can force all of those users to do to provide their multi-factor authentication tokens and credentials as well, or I can just do a bulk update with the CSV file. So multiple ways for us to get multi-factor authentication enabled for everyone within my organization, something that's very helpful and a quick and easy win for users that have signed up for Microsoft 365. The second thing we want to look at is what type of multi-factor authentication services can be included here. Well, if you can look at the verification options that we've provided to you, have call to phone, whatever they want to provide. You can make text messages or SMS messages enabled as well. And then you can use a Microsoft Authenticator app as another alternative. Now, some of our users are going to find one or two of those options not feasible for the organization. So we do support verification codes from other mobile applications or even hardware tokens. So that's all configurable and available to you within the environment. It does take some additional configuration capabilities here, but something that is native and built into the organization does not require a lot of, it does not require ADFS or other on-prem technologies to be enabled. It can fully support cloud or other types of authentication types. So looking at some of this information, you can also see things that we can do. You can set up trusted IPs, so people that are connecting through these public-facing IPs don't have to provide multi-factor authentication tokens. And you can also specify how long the multi-factor authentication is going to exist on specific devices, either from from either 0 days up to 365 days. So you can specify how long you want this authentication to last and to exist on each of the different devices. So very quick and easy way for you to get multi-factor authentication set up within your organization. Now, if I were to log out and log back in, it would show me and prompt me to enter those credentials. So that's something that we can demo there with multi-factor authentication. And if you'd like to do that a separate time, happy to do that. Looking at the secondary component that we have, a big win for a lot of our users is self-service password reset. Now, this is a very valuable tool for a lot of our users because there are a lot of tickets that go out after holidays or different breaks that occur, or people go on vacation, come back, they've forgotten their passwords, and so it makes it time-consuming, and a lot of processes are required to make sure that those users get access to their credentials. So a lot of lost man hours there for those users are waiting for their credentials to be re-enabled. So how do we solve for that problem? So you can see I'm in the self-service password reset process. I can go back and make the process enabled for everyone within the organization. I can make it for select groups or services depending upon what we want to do. I can go back and make those changes, and I have multiple authentication methodologies that we can deploy here within the environment. And unfortunately, not showing that to me right now. I'm in Dallas, so we're having a little bit of internet issues, so we'll jump into some of the different options here that will potentially be visible for you. So you have the authentication methods here, can be very similar to the type of authentication methods that we showed previously. It also allows the ability for you to create specific questions for those users for them to do password resets, and you can have notifications of password resets here. Then you can customize that solution so it's similar to the customization option that you have within your organization, and then making sure it's working on premise with your on-premise environment. So that might be one of the issues here. We'll check on that. But this is a very easy process here to walk through this methodology. You can actually force your users on sign up to provide all this information for the password reset as well as multi-factor authentication. So that first time they connect to the environment, they're providing all that information for you, and then it's easy for you to use that to provide some additional capabilities there. So I think that is the only other thing that will do a little bit of extra bit for you is the ability for us to set conditional access policies. And that's something that is very beneficial for a lot of our users. It just allows you guys to get very specific and granular policies to allow for different scenarios that might occur within your environment. So looks like my internet here in Dallas is a little bit wishy-washy, so we'll pause on that component, and we'll see what we can do for you there. Kevin, I'll turn it back over to you, and then I'll answer some questions I see have popped up in chat.
Thanks, Adam. I really appreciate it. And I think you could see that when we talk about reducing the amount of people you need to support this, by having the self-service password reset, by having people actually doing their own configuration of the multi-factor authentication, this is what we're talking about when we're talking about saving different things out there, saving personnel and allowing, really the automation of the products to do it themselves. So with that, you could see how we can take care of vendor licensing costs. We'll take care of that IT administration by, doing all of the development and everything in-house and saving that, from something that you guys have to do. Savings on automation and process improvements. I think you understand where I'm coming from there. And then reduce the total cost of risk. By having it all in one house, having it all work together, it really is a great way to take advantage of the products you probably already own. And as you could see, just looking at what Gartner says out there, if you look at access management, sure, Okta is way up in the top right-hand corner. But look who's over there right in second place that's just right on their heels, Microsoft. Something that you probably, if you looked at this chart just 5 years ago, I don't even think Microsoft would have been in the chart. That's how much they've invested in security and bringing it up to the level of every company that's built out there. IBM and Oracle are below where Microsoft is now. If you'll take a look at cloud access security brokers, Microsoft leads the pack, as you can see. If you take a look at enterprise information archiving, again, Microsoft right there with all the big leaders, the Proofpoints, the Mimecast, Microsoft right there with all of those big people. And this is Gartner. This isn't Microsoft saying this. If you take a look at endpoint protection platforms, the semantics of the world, the CloudStrikes of the world, the McAfee's of the world, look where Microsoft stacks up against all those guys. And if you look at unified endpoint management tools, again, Microsoft right there, the leader in the pack. So with all these things, this is really what, Microsoft has made huge investments in to be able to do this. Now, what SKU is required for MFA? Well, you do need a P1, which is Azure Active Directory P1. Now, if you're bundling these, if you want to take, for instance, an E5 or an M3 or an M5, you get that multi-factor, you get Azure Active Directory P1, which is the minimum requirement. What protection does self-service password reset use to prevent bad actors from changing the user's password? Now I'm going to, luckily I got the technical specialist on here, Adam. Adam, could you answer that one for me? I don't know. I'm going to mute myself so we don't get the echo. Adam might be, to be honest with you. Oh, that's okay.
Coming off mute.
All right.
So give me 1 second here. The question here is, I'll publish this one out here. And what protections does Microsoft password reset use to prevent bad actors from changing a user's password? A couple of options that we have there. We've got some data and I tools. The Microsoft Graph, security graph technology allows us to identify when those behaviors are atypical. And so there's a couple of additional tools that we can provide to you that allow you to set that up. So those ways that we can prevent that from happening. Conditional access policies would be one way for us to do that. So you can really scope out who has the ability to make those password changes. Second thing is making sure the devices are compliant. That would be something else that would be within Microsoft 365. And then Azure Active Directory P2 has some tools and capabilities there. Identity governance and privileged identity management allow us to scope out and specify those users to make sure that they can't have those password changes. You can also automate that process. So if it does request a a password reset, you can be notified on those changes. So if you have C-levels or executives that you want to make sure that they're very protected, we can set that up as well. So multiple avenues for us to address those problems, Andrew. It's something that we're quite familiar with, and we can address in a kind of deeper dive. If you wanted to go into a little bit more detail there, we can definitely do that for you. Hopefully that was a good enough answer. Back to you, Kevin.
Good, Adam. Thanks, bud. I appreciate it. That's why we got you on the phone. I knew we were going to have some smart guys out there, and I need a smart guy on my side at the same time. So with that, you can see where we're coming from here. So I'm just going to go, there's a little animation built into this slide. Okay, so let's talk about what Microsoft, if you want to take a look at their whole environment and what they do, the investments that they make, this is what your new environment, looks like when you're supporting not only SaaS-based applications, but you still have your legacy applications that you're still putting on in your data center. You now have IoT, Internet of Things, that you have to protect. You got mobile devices. Then, if you start going into the cloud, any cloud, you're going to need some type of protection up there, whether it's Azure Sentinel that you're going to use to actually get alerts, get cases actually identified. All of these things are really, I know that, Josh, we're all smart, except I need somebody even smarter than me. So that's why I got Adam on the phone. But you could see that this really is a complicated environment that you now have to manage. So this is Microsoft's reference architectures, you can see. So you can see that they put a lot of time, effort, and money into making sure that they're really that leading edge security company that no one 5 years ago would have thought about. So let's take a look at the different things that are built in here. We talked about single sign-on and self-service reset. We talked about multi-factor. I know that Adam brought up conditional access and privileged access management, but there's also identity governance, Active Directory, which I'll be honest with you is the core to all the security that you run, because all of your authentication starts there with Active Directory. If you look at unified endpoint management and how that's now built in, so is threat protection. And you could see that everything from endpoint detection and response all the way through IoT is all now covered. Take a look at cloud security with their security broker and their workload protection platform and all the different things they do there. And then, of course, data. And data is the key to most companies' business, is, first of all, being able to classify it, then to be able to discover it, then to do data loss protection, backups, all the things that you need to do are now, and you could see that you could replace up to 40 different products. And when I get into the value calculator, we're actually going to break that down for you and show you the different categories that we're talking about with the 40 different products that we have out there. So with that, back to the smart guy in the room here with Adam, and we're going to do a demo here on Defender for Office 365.
Let me come off mute. Okay, everyone can hear me okay? We'll just give a thumbs up in the chat. Hopefully we're good to go.
You're good. I'm going to mute.
Okay, perfect. Thanks, Kevin. So a couple of things here. To answer that previous question, we do have reports about risky user sign-ins, risky detections. We have some things there that we can do there with regard to YubiKeys and the FIDO access that we're looking for. That's authentication methodologies that we have here. So there's a lot of information we can get into to talk about that. So I'll let you know, we do have those answers directly within the Azure Active Directory environment, and we'll follow up with some information for you later on. So those were good questions coming through. I appreciate that, and we'll double check some of the different options that we have there as they talk to a bigger story. But what I wanted to do right now is jump in and talk about another of the products that we have. It's called Defender for Office 365. It was previously known as Office 365 ATP or Threat Intelligence and Threat Explorer. It's been rebranded multiple ways over the last 2 or 3 years. hopefully Defender for Office 365 is going to stick for a little while. So what we're actually currently in a not a new dashboard, but a relatively new location for us to find some of the Office 365 security tools. That's at the new Microsoft website, security.microsoft.com. This is where they've aggregated a lot of the different specific or silo product security offerings that we had across, Office 365, Exchange, SharePoint, OneDrive, some other services, and they've aggregated everything here. So it's giving you a single location to find the security policies. You can see here the email collaboration securities. We're actually currently starting our conversation today. So I'm going down to this. Is very similar to the security tools that used to be found in the Office 365 Security and Compliance Center at protection.office.com. They've moved everything here. So what we're going to do is just start off a quick conversation about some of the cool things that we get with Office 365 or Defender for Office 365. By default, everyone within the organization gets two services. They get anti-spam and anti-malware, and these are things that are by default or fairly open. Microsoft doesn't want to be the organization that prevents you from getting your email directly for any of these reasons. We want to go back and have some general guidelines in place, but we expect you to go back and get some basic information in play. So if you look at like our anti-spam information or a portal there, it's going to give you a lot of tools for you to go back and look at some of the information and talk about that. And it'll give you a lot about anti-spam policies to get some more of that information there. So that's going to be something that you guys have access to directly. You guys would have access there, but we want to focus on some of the other options that are available to us, some of the policies that we can enable directly here. So our safe links policy is something that we're going to be able to provide to you directly. And you can see we can create policies for individual users, individual groups, and we can provide a priority ranking for them. We can also go back and set global settings for this environment. So this is going to apply to all users within our organization to block specific links. So if there's some type of URL that we want to prevent our users to get access to, I can go back and link that here. So they can't access that URL for whatever reason within an email that they're getting. But you can also see there's a couple other cool things that are happening here. We're not only providing protection against these links that are being accessed via email, but we're also providing the same link policy as it applies to Office 365 apps. So you're looking at safe links protection within the desktop, mobile, and web clients as well. So say someone is getting an email or getting a link sent to them in a PowerPoint, an Excel spreadsheet, a Word document, something like that, where they're going to get it and think that the document is safe and click on that link. They're going to have containerized protection on that link here as well. So this is going to be something that's very valuable, providing you protection for those URLs that are being sent in multiple formats. We want to make sure you're protected no matter where that the interaction is occurring for your users. So you can see we're providing this protection across all the different layers or interaction points that your users might have, whether it's going to be a PC at home, at work, their mobile phone or tablet, or any web applications they might access. So very beneficial tool to make sure that those URLs are going to be scanned and protected each and every time one of your users gets access to that information. The next thing we want to take a look at is going to be the safe attachments capability. And this is a big one here. You can see once again, we can create specific policies for specific users or groups as necessary. But globally, we're going to go back and want to make sure that this is going to be turned on the platforms people are collaborating on. So no longer is email or the safe attachments only being sent through email. I mean, that was the case a few years ago, but more people are sharing attachments through other collaboration platforms. And so we want to make sure those protections are enabled here as well. So you can go back and see, SharePoint, OneDrive, and Microsoft Teams are all going to have this protection extended to them. So if your employees are collaborating on these platforms, no matter what device they're using, they're going to be protected by the safe attachments policies that are being shared either internally or externally with other users. Now, for those that have the right licensing, you can see Microsoft 365 E5 or the security license as a step up SKU from E3. You also get these protected attachments in the protected view within Office applications. So those applications that we've talked about before, the desktop client applications, those mobile and those web applications are going to be protected here as well. So Microsoft is expanding the scope for where the protection is going to be provided to your end users to not just cover the email as a primary form of communication. We know that's not the case. It's also providing that protection across all the desktop and Office applications. So safe links and safe attachments is a very huge benefit. That's a lot of the ways that those ransomware attacks and some of the other attacks get to spread, is through some of the attachments and safe links. Those policies we've been able to here protect you across multiple vectors here, which is very beneficial compared to some of the competitors in the marketplace. The other thing that's a big case here is anti-phishing and being able to set up some of those policies. And you can see we've got all different types of information that we can provide for you here. Just use the C-suite as an example to give you some information. We're going to be able to provide and protect emails to all the different types of users. I've talked to multiple organizations. The largest organization I've talked to that the biggest fraud that's been perpetrated against them through phishing was a $500,000 invoice that was paid by a C-level executive unknowingly to a phisher, and they didn't detect the fraud until they did the books at the end of the year. So it's a pretty big problem that's there. On a smaller level, you have some of the team members that are getting defrauded for $50 to $100. So this is a ongoing problem. This is getting very targeted. We have a lot of controls to allow you to go in and provide protection for these users in multiple scenarios and multiple formats. And you can go back and have a very kind of generic approach, or if you want to get very specific and very granular, we can go back and incorporate turn up the power with which we're providing these services. So a lot of power here to make sure that your users are protected from a lot of the common threats that we're seeing here through the collaboration platforms with phishing, safe attachments, and safe links. We have you covered, not just with an email, but on all the collaboration platforms that you might have. And something that's relatively new that's very beneficial for some of our users here are the templated policies that we have. What the templated policies allow us to do is to easily configure, instead of having to go back and learn all the different the tools and services that you have at your disposal and making them applicable to your environment. We've gone ahead and said, look, let's just give you some preset security policies to get in place as soon as you get started. Once that's done, you can go back and tweak it as necessary. So I can go back and apply this protection to specific users and groups and get what our idea of best practices is through Exchange Online Protection, some of the other services, and then making sure that we've added specific groups or recipients here so they can have our best standard protection. So you can go back and very easily apply as a temporary hold, so you get a little bit more educated yourself, but you can go back and provide that standard protection for some of your regular team members. And if you wanted to put some of your C-levels, executives, or other individuals in the strict protection program, you can do that. So we're going to go back and provide these preset security policies to make sure you're protected as much as you need to without having to do a lot of the heavy lifting. We've done that for you already to make your life a little bit easier. Now, once you've got all these policies in place and working the way as you've intended, you can go back and see how well you're doing versus our best practice recommendations. And this is where the configuration analyzer comes into play. You'll go back and see the policy group, the setting names that we have is rolling through our recommendations and giving us an idea of where we currently stand. You can go back when it pops up some of the information, it'll show you how many changes I can make to make sure I've fully integrating some of the security recommendations that Microsoft would make for you. And you can see across spam, phishing, and malware, we've got nearly 50 recommendations that they would make for us to make sure that we're fully adhering to our best practices. And I can go back and click on any of those links, so I'll drop down and show me exactly what I need to do. And I can, as quickly and easily as just click the adopt button to get that option deployed within my environment. So making life easier for you, making technology easier for you to use and understand and implement within your environment is what we're trying to aim for at this present time, to give you a little bit more time for the other things that are important. Now, as one last thing we'd like to follow up on, there's some capabilities that exist here. Two things that provide a lot of value. We'll just do it really quickly. One is the attack simulation training. This is a good way for you to go back and run a simulation within your organization to make sure that they are going to be taken care of the way they need to, or they're going to be aware of some of the phishing scams that are out there. So you can go back and launch a simulation of multiple techniques from multiple varieties. You can do stuff like credential harvesting, links and malwares or attachments, URLs. You can go back, I can name the simulation, I can walk through this process pretty quickly, and we can just do a demo here for us really quickly, how quickly that process is. And I can go back and select a payload. We've already created about 30 or 40 different payloads that are relevant here. You can see 50 different payloads, excuse me, that could be potentially used to give your users a phishing test or delivering this payload however you need to. We know in today's environment with COVID, maybe there's a COVID-19 payroll adjustment that is going off. That might be an easy way to catch some of your users asleep for the Office 365 capabilities that are there. And we'll just go back and select this one, close it, and then lets me target specific users. We can assign training for those different users within my organization, and let them either be Microsoft specific training, or you can go back and create this training methodology for yourself, launch details, and then you're ready to go. So it's a really easy process to go back and create this training profile. And then the last thing we'll take a look at is this Explorer tool. The Explorer tool is very beneficial, very helpful in terms of giving you the information you need to identify what's going on with malware and phishing attempts within your area. And so you can go back and see how that's affecting your environment, and it gives you details specific to your users about what type of information they're receiving, what you can do with it. So a lot more to these tools and services that we have here, but as a starting point, a lot of value within Defender with Office 365 for a user. So that's all that I've had in the 10. I appreciate the 10 minutes that you guys have shared with me. I'll turn it back over to Kevin to finish this out. I'll answer questions in the chat while Kevin gets started.
All right, well, thank you very much for doing that for me. Hold on one second. I just got to get my screen back up there. There we go. And one of the things I did want to point out here, we do have a security workshop. This is a workshop where we can come in, help you figure out what your security posture is. It's a 3-day engagement. A lot of times, we can talk to Microsoft and get a lot of it funded by Microsoft, and we will try our best to do that. If not, it's very, very reasonably priced. But we can come in and do a discovery session. We'll threat check everything that you have in there. Then we'll sit down and do an envisioning session like Adam was showing you in there about all the best practices and the different things that you can do to be able to enhance your security. We'll show demos of all the different products. And then we'll take an existing workload development and we'll look at the SKUs that it would take to actually protect your environment, give you a real live assessment, both from a protection standpoint, but also from a cost standpoint of what it's going to take to get you to that posture that you're looking to get to. And that's really, everyone has a different view of where they need to be with security. And the bottom line is this workshop actually helps you get there. So let me just go on to the next one here. So like I said, we focus on and learn about your company's priorities and incentives. We'll take a look at the threats that you get from your environment, whether it's email, identity, data, it doesn't matter. Then we'll show you Microsoft's approach to do this. And then we'll give you a really nice report back to you about your environment, about the options that you have. And like I said, this is really an in-depth study to get you to where you want to be. So as you can see, we talked about replacing up to 40 different products that the MSKU or the Microsoft 365 can actually help you with, up to 60% savings by using the different products that are in there. You can see that the cloud native SIM can have huge savings of 11%, and then built-in cloud security that costs you absolutely nothing. And that's really the key to Microsoft actually taking all their products and integrating them together to make sure that you get the coverage that you're looking for. So now I'm going to get into the value calculator. And what this actually brings to the table is that visual tool to show you what you can do with whatever SKU you're running today and whatever third party or products besides Microsoft that you're actually running. So if I take a look here and I go into the value calculator, and this is something that luckily the tools are available to us from Microsoft. Obviously, you have to be certified on them and get them, but you can also go in here and pick the different products that are out here. So if you have an E3, like I saw someone ask questions about E3, it's actually going to break down the different products that are available in E3 compared to going to, let's say, an E5, which then will give you a lot more options than the E3. And if you get into the M SKU or the Microsoft 365 SKU, then there's even more different products that you can actually get involved here. So if we start here at the top and just look at unified endpoint protection, you can see that this is what we use here from Microsoft, but we can compare it to BlackBerry, to Citrix, to Google, to IBM, and so on. And you could tell us, well, you know what, I use Mobile Iron, and I just put 1,000 users in here, and that's the list price for Mobile Iron for 1,000 users. Now, if that's not the price you pay and you say, no, we get it much cheaper than that, I can plug in any number that you want into this calculator. I can show you desktop management using our, endpoint manager, but you might be using, again, one of these other products. And I can do that for all the products in here. You could say, well, I'm using a VPN. Great. Which one are you using? We're using Cisco, and it's costing us this much. And I can go into that on every single one of these products. Multi-factor authentication, you know that we talked about that earlier, but you might be using Okta, like we talked about. Okta, from a list price for 1,000 users, is $36,000. It's included in this price. So I can go in and look at all single sign-on, identity governance, risk-based conditional access. They're all in here. And again, if they're one of these products or they're not even this product, we can put in a price in here. We can say that whether this is a current spend, something that you're looking about doing in the future, how long your commitment is, 1, 2, or 3 years. And at the end of doing all of these, it takes us a little bit of time to walk through each one of these, but we can do it step by step. You can see cloud security. Someone asked about backing up as part of the conversation here. And you could see that if you picked Commvault or Veritas or any of those, we have Microsoft 365 backup. We have data loss protection. So if you were using, for instance, endpoint projector, how much that would cost. And I can go through all of these different products, and you could see it's a lot more than 40. Down here when we're talking about teamwork, if you're holding, for instance, a large town hall meeting like we are with live events today, if you're using one of these other products like GoToMyMeeting or Adobe Connect Webinars or AT&T, we could plug in whatever that cost is. Enterprise video with Stream, obviously. These are all the products that are built right into the Office 365 SKU. If you're looking at business intelligence and you're using, any of these other products that are out there, you can plug them in, put in a price, and you can see the cost differential. Once we're done with all this, we can actually view the results, get a breakdown of all the different savings that you have, also give you an idea right from if you did the security workshop, we'll have a lot of this information, and this is actually one of the tools that we use as part of that security workshop, but it also allows us to do all this. Then we can go in and actually set up a deployment schedule, how quick you want to deploy these type of products, whether advanced auditing is ready, you want to push it back. We can actually come up with a plan of attack, a whole project plan on deploying all the different products that you picked as part of the assessment. And then we give you a breakdown in cost of what everything, sorry, it's refreshing, what everything costs. And you can see I didn't plug in any numbers here, but you'll actually get a complete ROI analysis of what it costs compared to what you're already doing or what you're planning on doing in the future. So you could see that this is really a great tool, and no matter what SKU you're using today, we can make sure that we put in the right numbers for you. You can, and they're really all your numbers, and we can even break this down. I was working with security today, but if you don't even want to get into modern work and you just want to talk about compliance, or Teams, and I saw someone talk about Microsoft 365 Business and Business Premium. We have the tool for that also. Also, first line workers. This is another SKU that's brand new for Microsoft that allows those people that don't have a desk, the people that work maybe in a retail store or out in a warehouse or driving a truck. How can we make them, first of all, have access to things in Teams and in SharePoint and their email, but make sure that they're compliant and using the right SKU for them. So you can see all these things are right in here. Very easy to use this tool once you get educated on it. And we'll be more than happy to run it for anyone that's part of this webinar to help you actually get a much better overview of what you're doing, but also what's available to you in the product that you already own for Microsoft. These are just some of the quick pages that I pulled out. It's like a 60-page report. It gives you a perfect breakdown of the cost savings depending upon what you're using today or what you're actually what you're actually going to deploy. And you could see that this study that is in here actually comes from Forrester Consulting. This is not a Microsoft sheet, but this is an actual study that we did for an M365 E5 deployment and getting rid of some of or not purchasing some of the other third-party solutions that are out there. And you can see that's just a small part of this, but potential annual savings of almost $6 million. And that's on 20,000 employees. So that's a big study. But boy, just if you're only 1,000 employees, cut that, by 20 times, it's still a lot of money. So with that, I already did the value calculator. I got ahead of myself here. So let's talk about what Microsoft has made investments in the security business. They spent over $1 billion in cybersecurity just to get it to that architecture that I showed you earlier. They have over 3,500 security professionals that work to secure their data centers and hunt down attackers. That's all they do all day long, 3,500 people. Microsoft blocks more than 5 billion distinct malware threats every single month. So they take security seriously. So if you take a look at what the president of Microsoft is talking about, they make sure that GDPR was a catalyst for a lot of their efforts. They talk about the 4 privacy lawsuits against government that they make sure these are the things that actually push them into this. And they build their privacy into services as part of their Microsoft security development lifestyle. So it's all part of their strategy going forward. Transparency. Microsoft provides geographic locations where customers' data is stored. In fact, we have a tool here now, it's Sirius and MessageOps, called Inscape. And we'll actually show you where all your mailboxes are, in which data center, and we can even get down to which mailbox, which user is running in which data center. So they really do give you 100% transparency. We just make it a little bit easier for you to find those things if you're not used to working in the Graph API or in PowerShell. We do all that for you. Microsoft publishes a number of legal demands for customers' data, so you'll know exactly where they are. They also provide visibility into what they do with customer data, how they protect it, how they control it, so that you're not guessing about what's going on behind the scenes. So it really is the best of both worlds. And if you look at compliancy of the things that they make sure they're compliant with. So if you're healthcare and you're looking at HIPAA compliance, if you're the government and they have a whole government cloud that does nothing but comply to government, they make sure that from a regional standpoint, whether it's Germany or whether it's Australia or what it might be, they have all of those different areas covered. So you could see that security is one of the cornerstones now to Microsoft's cloud environment, whether it's Office 365 or Azure. They make sure that security is taken seriously. So if we look at the next step here. You can schedule a meeting where we can run this value calculator that I told you and get a free analysis report. Doesn't cost you anything. Like I said, anyone that's part of this webinar will be more than happy to run that value calculator for you and make sure that you're taking advantage of everything that you already own and show you your options if you're looking at upgrading your security and how Microsoft can help. We can schedule a more in-depth demo of the tools that I talked about, like Inkscape, so you can see how you can actually visualize what you're doing in Microsoft, whether it's from a productivity standpoint, whether it's from a security standpoint, whether it's from a utilization standpoint. We can help you there. And then we could see, like I said, if you qualify for a fully funded cloud accelerator workshop. It's something that Microsoft offers, and we can make sure and see if you qualify for one of those studies. That's really all we have today. I know that Adam has been answering some questions here on the board. Adam, anything you want to drop in here right at the end?
Just a couple of things for you, Kevin. Looking at it, there was a couple of questions with regards to what SKUs were needed over above them 365 Business Premium to get some of the features we've talked about. That was from Chris. I didn't have an answer to that one. And then there was a couple of questions here with regards to Azure Active Directory Connect and Defender regarding Trend Micro. I didn't understand the context of those questions. So if you guys wanted to give us some more context, be happy to answer those questions now, or if we need to have a follow-up call, Kevin can definitely answer some of those questions, or I can jump in and help too. So whatever you guys need. But thank you for the time, Kevin. It's been wonderful talking about some of the technologies that exist here, and hopefully you guys saw some of the cool features that are now available within Microsoft's Security and Compliance Center that wasn't quite available there previously. But thanks for your time, Kevin. Thanks for everyone's participation.
And thank you, Adam, for participating. We really do help. I mean, you really did help a lot. And on those questions, we'll be more than happy to answer any of those questions. It's probably not the best forum to do it here, but we're going to be emailing you. Reach out to us. We'll have a one-on-one call, especially about business and business premium. As you can see, the value calculator does take into account the business SKUs. We'll be more than happy to go through that with you or with any of your customers. That's for sure. And I'm not really sure also on Defender regarding Trend Micro and Apex One. We use Trend Micro too, so I mean, I'm sure we could probably answer your question. I'm not exactly sure what it is, but Josh will try to help. So with that, I know we're coming up to the top of the hour. I do appreciate your time today. Like I said, this is recorded. You will be getting a copy of the slides. And I just want to thank you for your time today and investing an hour of your time to learn a little bit more about the security that's built in to the Microsoft Cloud environment. We really appreciate your time. Have a great day.